Cheers and welcome to this week's special episode of the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. This week we share the interview we did with James Hammond of the Winging It Travel podcast. It's a longer podcast than we usually do, but time just flies by because it's full of jokes and fun and laughter and lots of travel insights and stories. So please enjoy this interview episode with Winging It Travel, and you can find the links to James's podcast in the show notes. Next thing, there's a freaking bull shark that's trying to
attack the crocodile.
But at that stage, I was thinking, okay, I'm not that safe. Let's get out of here. There's just something for everybody in Spain, James. Like, you know, if you want beaches and tourism, there's that. You know, if you want history, there's so much history. If you want mountains and hiking, there's that. If you want food, there's that. There's wine regions. There's just. So he took us on a day trip to this little village called LaGuardia. Now this little village, it's up high,
630 metres.
So it's a medieval wine village, and you're standing up there, and you've got a glass of red wine, and all around you there's people in Spain have never heard of this place. It was like a fairy tale.
Yeah, and the next one was Great Barrier Reef, right? I guess you've been there and done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually did our, through COVID, because we couldn't go anywhere, we could go in Queensland, we went and did our scuba certificate, scuba diving, up at Port Douglas.
Port Douglas.
Yeah, and part of doing that was every day you went out onto the reef, you know, to do it. So not in the pool, well, we did a bit in the pool, but then we went out and did it.
Hello and welcome to the Winging It Travel Podcast with me, James Hammond. Personally, I have been to 50 countries. I've met so many people on my travels that I want to bring on this podcast and get their story on record. I have plenty of tips and stories to share with you as well. Are you a backpacker or a traveller or gap year student or simply someone who loves to travel? Then this is the podcast for you. Throughout the weeks and months, you'll get many guests and solo episodes where I try to cover all range of subjects within travel. This is a casual and informative travel podcast to inspire you to travel in the future. Hello and welcome to this week's episode where I'm joined by slow travellers and travel podcasters Lara and Leanne from the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. A brilliant name for podcasts and two combinations that I think a lot of people would like. So I'm going to hear about their travel philosophy, favourite spots around the world. I'm interested in their Spain portion of their podcast and other things in terms of podcast and travelling. So welcome to the show, guys. How are you doing?
Hey, Hamo.
Jimmy.
Where'd you get that from?
Well, you know, we're Aussies, so we give nicknames to everybody.
Yeah, that's a two that sort of get called at home. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, hi, James.
And where are you guys based at the minute?
We're at the Sunshine Coast, at Kings Beach, actually, right at the southern end of the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. Exotic?
Some people might describe that area of the world.
Yeah, probably. Like, it's our home base, hence the beach part of the Beach Travel Wine.
Yeah. And where does the wine come into it?
Yeah. Well, that's an everyday thing, really.
Okay. And in terms of listeners who maybe are not familiar with Australia, whereabouts in Australia is that?
You can describe
Yeah,
that.
it's the north, towards the north, more towards the equator. It's beautiful. Like, it's
an hour and a half north of Brisbane.
Yeah, an hour and a half
on the east coast.
Yeah. So it's it's a beautiful climate. We look out the window and we see the Pacific Ocean. So yeah, it's fabulous.
Is that part of the world where you only have like dry and wet season, or are you still in like winter, autumn, spring, summer?
Yeah. Well, we don't have generally, not the four distinct seasons, but we don't have the we don't have the monsoon climate here. So cyclones can come down this far, but more of a rain depression. But you certainly know it's winter to summer. But
Nice. We met a couple of Aussies from Brisbane in Vietnam, and they come on the podcast earlier this year, Mike and Marissa, and they biked around the world for a year, as in cycle. So that was an interesting conversation. And I look at cyclists and think, how on earth do you do it?
Especially if they've done around Australia. I mean, it's it's a long way even to the shops here.
Yeah. So are you both from there originally, or are you from other places in Australia?
Well, I'm originally from New South Wales, which is the next state down, just country New South Wales. And
I'm from Victoria, which is one of the southern states.
And are you a fan of AFL?
Oh, absolutely.
Who's your team?
Not really.
My team?
Yeah.
Everybody's favourite team, Collingwood.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded words. Yeah, I thought you were going to say that.
Jamie.
I'm a Richmond supporter, so there you go.
Oh, that's a shame.
Do you have an EPL team?
No, my team are way down in League One, so unfortunately not a top team.
Not Wrexham.
Not that far down.
Wrexham United.
Wrexham are big here because of Ryan Reynolds, right? So he's from
That's
Vancouver.
right. Yeah.
They're on a TV show here, I think, the other night. So I think they're getting a bit.
It's here too. Yeah,
they're getting a bit of exposure here, should we say? Yeah,
my boys, especially my children, especially my boys, are right into football or soccer, as most Australians call it. But so they just love any show on TV about football.
Yeah, I did get into, like, when I was in Australia watching football, but the time difference is a nightmare because if they kick off normally in the UK, like, I don't know, it's just a ridiculous hour in Australia. So when I was there, it's like a late night, try and stay up and then go to bed late, but not really sustainable. Here it's a bit better in terms of time difference.
Yeah, okay.
But up here in Queensland, it's more rugby league.
I was going to say I got into the State of Origin when I was there as well, and I watched the Lions as well. I think in Melbourne, actually. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well, the World Cup is currently being played in the UK.
Yes. Yeah. I think the Cook Islands won the other night, didn't they? They beat Wales. That was good.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
See, it's weird, because like in rugby league, like all these little islands, they're quite good, aren't they?
Sure.
Yeah, but like in rugby union,
a lot of those players, they play in the NRL over here.
Ah, right. Got it.
Yeah.
Makes sense. The State of Origin is pretty big, isn't it? As a spectacle.
Absolutely huge.
Who's won it more? I guess Queensland have, right?
Queensland, yep.
Rubbish.
They have.
They have not.
Oh,
I don't actually know. I'm just guessing from recent history.
No, if you go over the whole history, New South Wales have won it far more.
Oh, I'm not sure that's accurate.
Okay. I'm going to Google that. I'm going to do that.
Okay.
I know we've won it a lot more since we moved to Queensland.
Correct.
See.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're from Victoria, who would you support? NRL, State of Origin, who would you go
Queensland,
for?
Queensland, because we live in Queensland.
Right.
Yeah, Queensland.
What about people who don't move like to Queensland? If you're just in Victoria still, who would you go for out of those two?
They don't really care.
They couldn't care less.
Yeah.
No, couldn't care less. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, no, it's a New South Wales, Queensland thing. No, not the rest of Australia really don't care.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, AFL's huge and cricket.
Victoria's AFL mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you know.
I picked Richmond only because I was going to move there. That was the only reason.
Yeah, that'd probably be the only reason you would probably pick them.
But then, when I was there, a lot of Hawks fans I was with, and then we were pretty shit. But then, as soon as I left, we had a bit of a run of, I think, 3 premierships since then. So that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, they had a very good team.
Yeah.
Are they the brown and yellow ones?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of on its way out now, I think, though. Kind of ended the dynasty, I think. Let's talk about travel. So, your travel philosophy, I've got on the first subject here. What does that mean to you? Like I mentioned slow travel in the intro. So, is that where you're at right now?
Well, I guess I don't like being sort of classed too much, but I did say slow travel, and I think what that means for us really is we like to go to a spot for a minimum of a week, and we just like to explore it. We've sort of made the decision not before we started traveling, but we'd rather just get to know a place rather than collect places. So for us, to go to Spain so often and spend so much time, in a city, you can just take your time. You can get up, you can go out for breakfast, you can go for a walk, you can do whatever you like for a week, and you don't feel like you're rushed and you have to see all the highlights, and it just takes all the pressure off, and it's just such a nice way to travel. So, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that too many. Well, even Leanne's been had some emails about where should you go to in Spain, and they're going from one end of Spain to the bottom, and
in a week.
then they're trying to do it in a week. Where to go to say the Cordoba, Granada, and Seville, which are close, but you wouldn't do that in a week.
Yeah. So that for some people do. For us, that's not what we like to do. And the other thing about slow travel for us is we don't like to travel more than about 3 hours a day. So we plan it so. Yeah, we hop on a train or a bus and we find the next place before we get there, like obviously when we're planning. And that just, you just don't have to hurry. You get to where you're going by lunchtime. It's
just in time for a drink.
A cold cerveza. So it's just about relaxing and enjoying, the travel and some of the little places you stop along the way. If somewhere we want to go 6 hours, we'll break it in two and just go somewhere that we went to a place in Spain this time where we didn't hear any English at all.
Yeah, I felt like Galicia was like that, actually. Barely anyone is speaking English, which is great. I don't mind that at all.
No, it's great. Well, we both speak a bit of Spanish, so that's helpful.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a bit of Spanish goes a long way, and that was what we tried to do. Well, with slow travel, though, I guess the caveat here is all depends if you can do it, right?
Sure.
I'd be keen to see what you guys think about someone who's got a normal job. They've probably got, 4, 5, 6 weeks vacation a year. Like, in theory, those guys don't have time to slow travel, right? They've got to take the highlights off because they've got to get a move on because they have a finite amount of time, which I think is a terrible way to travel because you're forever rushed. You go on holiday to relax. You're not relaxed. You have to get things in. And then by the time you get back to work, you're kind of still tired, right? So I do wonder how people do it year in, year out and accept it. Because I think, well, just take a year off and just do a bit of slow travel.
I think, though, the problem is that, we all talk about bucket lists and, all these, things that you have to see. And like if you only have 4 weeks a year, you could definitely go to, a country for 4 weeks and do it slow traveling. You just don't have to see everything. I think it's an attitude, of, or the media or the, the Instagram shots and all that stuff that people just feel like, okay, we've got to go to Paris and we've got to see the Eiffel Tower and then we've got to see here and we've got to, whereas, you just don't have to do all that, and that's, I guess, the message we like to get across, because people keep saying, why do you go back to Spain? Why, because the more you go, the more comfortable you are, the more you can just sit back and enjoy the culture and
practice your Spanish.
See,
takes time.
So I think it's more about not having a bucket list and having to tick everything off, just getting rid of that pressure and just going somewhere, even if it is just for 1 week, but just stay in one place, and just explore that.
But I do understand how some people can't do that.
Sure.
And we're pretty lucky we're retired. And I know we look far too young to be retired, but we are. And so...
That was James's next comment.
Of course, yeah, naturally.
Hello. We're lucky enough we retired, but when we decided to retire, we had an exit strategy to sell our business. And part of that exit strategy was that we obviously got to find out how you can survive that time. Part of that extra strategy was allocating money to go overseas every year.
Yeah, travel every year.
So, obviously to be able to do that, you do have to make sacrifices with your business. We were in a hospitality business, accommodation in a tourist area. And so we basically, you work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So that, I say to Lan, sometimes we get a bit, not embarrassed, but maybe embarrassed that we do this. But I say to Lan, don't be embarrassed. We worked our asses off to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And we also engineered it, sorry.
Oh, it's the same as you're doing. You're working really hard to achieve what you want to achieve, to travel. Good on you. Go for it.
When we downsized, we just bought a very average unit. We have one car. We don't have, we just don't spend money on
one car, one TV. Our stereo system is a
speaker,
Bluetooth speaker.
Which goes with us when we travel.
Yeah. So but in saying that, I can look out the window now and we can see the Pacific Ocean. So
dream.
So we sort of feel like we we're on holidays permanently.
Mm.
And then when we get sick of being on holidays, we go on vacation or we travel.
You're absolutely right about this, because it's all about priorities, right? So some people always ask me like, well, how do you do it? But I'm like, well, how do I do it? Well, have I decided to have a house? No. Have I decided to have any kids? No. Have I really decided to have a career? No. So what does that mean? I sort of have total freedom at my age to maybe work for a bit and then go off and do some travel, right? That's a choice.
Well, everybody has their trade-offs, don't they?
Yeah, it's a choice. Yeah. If you want kids, then probably there's going to be, I don't know, 15, 20 years where you're going to have to put them first, because that's what the deal is.
It's not the bloody kids, James. It's the bloody grandkids.
Oh, God. Well, yeah, then that's another 15, 20 years on top, isn't it? Oh, God.
They don't care, but I don't want to go away from too long. They're like, Nana who? But I'm like...
Yeah, it's all about choices, right? So
yeah, of course. But my goal is to be the cool Nana on the block, and you know, so the grandkids say, you know, Nana's cool. She goes to Spain. She speaks Spanish. Nana's cool. She goes here. She goes there. You know, that sort of thing, rather than, you know, I knitted them a jumper or something.
It's very interesting though, because I don't meet a lot of people who do slow travel, so it's quite an interesting conversation, because a lot of people are also, even like travelers who are remote working, right? They're trying to work and travel at the same time, so not fully focused on travel. They just still probably have 3 days a week where they have to do some work. So yeah, it's quite interesting. But you're right, you worked hard for it, you got to where you are now, and why not enjoy yourself? There's no shame in that.
I also read a book recently called 4,000 Weeks, which everyone sort of talks about, and
okay.
and you know, it's you know, it's not about, we basically, if you live to 80, we have, each of us have about 4,000 weeks. So, you know, it's what you do with those 4,000 weeks, right? Which doesn't sound like a lot. So
no, it doesn't, does it?
No. So I don't want to spend, you know, my time traveling, rushing here, rushing there, just to, as I said, to see a site. You know, like it's about the decision just to enjoy and learn. Like we've just learnt so much about places by just taking a bit of time to do that. You know?
We've engineered this to be where we are.
Yeah.
We're not lucky, we engineered it, you know, like everyone makes choices, right?
Yeah.
And so we're a bit later in life, you know, to do this sort of traveling, and but yeah, good on you.
But to do this too, we do look after ourselves.
Yeah.
Apart from the drinking part of it.
the wine, yeah.
Yeah, the wine. Oh, I don't mind beer.
But, or the odd gin and tonic.
Yeah, but we train every day. We walk every day. I swim. So we're probably a little bit fitter than most people our age. So there's those sort of sacrifices as well, to be able to do what you do, even though I love it. I enjoy the exercise part of it. I'd do it anyway, whether I was traveling or not. But you got to take that into consideration as well.
Good point, because I'm pretty lazy, if I'm honest. Yeah, I don't.
Well,
nowhere near as active.
You're not as old as us.
I tell you what does happen though. When I travel, I saw a Facebook status the other day where this was like 2017. We left UK. And we went to like Nepal and Japan and stuff and Southeast Asia. I think I put a status saying I lost 10 kilos. And that's purely for me, just being more active. But I wouldn't say the diet has got changed. That it's more probably meals when you travel, but maybe just being more active just got me a bit more kilos off my bum. So yeah, it's interesting. But in a home life, real scenario, I do struggle with that, the fitness stuff.
Get traveling then.
That's the answer, right? Yeah. And also before you reached your point, I know you worked hard, but did you still travel in the early days, or was it like always been a bit of a dream that when you finish, you'll start traveling?
Well, this is a second marriage for us. So, previous to us meeting, we both did a bit of travel, not a lot, Lyle was running.
Oh, you've done a fair bit. You've been to Egypt. You've been to
the Caribbean. And
Caribbean.
Stuff, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true, but not heaps. I worked on a cruise ship for a little while, and sort of did Central America and the Caribbean through that, and I packed myself off to Egypt for my 50th birthday just because I've always wanted to go, and and obviously did the west coast of the US with 3 teenage kids for a bit of all the fun parks that you go to there, Vegas and all that stuff. So we sort of just decided we were just going to travel when we got married and retired, and so we've been somewhere, every year, and plan to go more places every year.
Sure. But I hadn't travelled really. I mean, interstate in Australia, I've been pretty much everywhere, but I hadn't done much overseas until I was about 40. And I was basically in the hotel nightclub industry for probably about 30 odd years.
Yeah.
So you basically just worked.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not complaining about that. I had a ball. I loved it. I was ashamed I got too old to do it. So I went to America and Europe in the one trip, and we did it in 6 weeks. And I wasn't that keen. I mean, America's nice, but Europe, for me, just opened my eyes. And I just I thought to myself, how long's this been going on? So,
when's that got there?
And that was it. I was sold.
The thing about Australians is, we're so far away from everywhere, and but literally, and there'd be people that we don't know a lot about Europe. We know a bit about Italy because a lot of people came over from Italy after the war and Greece. But a lot of people sort of they think you need to go on a Kentucky tour to, and you see Europe in what that sort of thing. So in rush trip, don't they? And you don't realise that there is another way, I guess. Different for us to go and explore Europe. A lot of people go to the Hawaii, the States, and Italy.
Which we've done.
We've done all that. But we don't really have like a big list to tick off. Like we sort of make it up as we go. I know you're going to talk to us later about where we've got planned next. We've got a few little things coming up, haven't we?
Sure.
One thing with Europe that I found, ever since I've left, I've realised why on earth have I not taken advantage of it? Like I bought my flight to Athens for like $30, right? I was like, why wasn't I doing this all the time when I was younger? But you just don't do it. You sort of want to get out there, right? Yeah, because I live in the UK. You kind of think, well, I'll go to Australia. But like, it's crazy to think back. You think, why don't I just go to like, 10 countries in Europe by train and just go and check them out? Crazy. You kind of realise that when you get older, I think.
Yeah, well, it's and the train travel's amazing. Yeah, we love it. We won't drive anywhere. We public transport all the way.
Yeah, and fairly cheap. Question about public transport actually changed for me. I used to back in the day get like a night bus or night train to save time. But then I couldn't sleep. So like the next day I was like not doing anything. So I kind of feel like it's pointless now. Are you kind of the same with the slow travel mentality? Just travel and accept it's in the day and it's part of the day.
Well, as I said, we try and only do about 3 hours. So, that's actually quite enjoyable. You don't have to get there too early. You do your 3 hours on an air-conditioned bus or air-conditioned train and you hop off.
And there's Wi-Fi on them. Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, you see a whole bunch of scenery that you would not normally see. And you'll go into small little, like, villages, pueblos, and that you wouldn't go and have a look at.
That's true.
And so, like everything, there's advantages and there's disadvantages, but we really enjoy that part of it.
I think though, being, as I sort of said, mature travellers, is like we've decided we don't want to be sleeping on a bus. We don't want to be carrying a backpack with us. And we're at that stage of our life where we don't have to. You'd almost call us not snobby travellers, but we want a certain level of
comfort.
Comfort, right? And that's where we're at. So we definitely wouldn't. I might do like a luxury night train or something. They're talking about bringing those sorts of things back across Europe now. But there's no way we're going to sit up on a bus and try and save money and sleep.
No, but Leanne decided that we were going to always book apartments so that we could cook.
Oh, stop it!
And we were in Spain for 77 days. We never cooked. We went out every night.
Well, we're in Spain, right?
Yeah. Well, it's so cheap.
Yeah.
You get free tapas with beers. Like I would never cook in Spain. No chance.
Yeah. Well, we found that out. So now our excuse is because it's got a washing machine.
Yeah. Most of the kitchen apartments with kitchens have washing machines, and you've got to wash, right? Stop it! You're making fun of me. I can make a cup of tea.
Was like mature traveller. What does that mean? How would you define it? Is that just comfort and take your time?
Yeah, exactly.
And really, embrace the the place that you're at. You know,
Yeah.
you know, if it means you might just sit down on a park bench for an hour and a half and just watch. And we're people watchers. Well, normally it'd probably be in a bar, probably for us. But and there's in Spain, there's some really nice views from bars. So yeah, because there's no rush.
Yeah.
It's just everything's just relaxed.
And we get up in the morning, we walk out the door and say, which way today? Straight ahead, right, left, what do you reckon? You know? So we plan our accommodation, we plan our transport. Other than that, it's all, you know, we wing it. Hey?
That's the best way. Why plan it all? We can just like spontaneously go somewhere. Like, that's hence the name of the podcast, really. Do you have any rules of what time you get up and go to bed? Because I would, if I was traveling, I'd be like, right, in by 11, out by 7 next morning, just to make sure you make full use of the day. But no rules?
No rules at all.
No, it depends on really how much we've had to drink the night before.
Oh, it does
really.
not.
or been night clubbing, you know.
Now, your nose is getting bigger, Pinocchio.
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's the whole point of it. Like, it's just a matter, we get up, we have a cup of tea, you know, and if we're lucky enough to the apartment, might have a little patio, like we did at Salamanca. And then we, as Leanne says, we normally try to get quite close to the old towns.
Yes.
And the transport. So that if we're not on the beach, we try to get near, you know, the rivers, and the rivers are always pretty close to the old towns anyway.
Yeah.
So that we go for a bit of a walk. And most of those cities aren't that big.
That's true.
You think they're big, but they're not. And so we just go for a walk and
play it by ear.
And if we see something that we want to have a look at,
we do.
We do. At one stage, we sort of steered away from, you know, the churches and all that sort of thing. But as we've probably got more and more comfortable in Spain, especially, you actually start to realise, you know, they are part of the holiday. They are part of the learning. You don't become as what's the word, blasé or even snobbish. Oh, I'm not going to do that. You start to realise how magnificent some of this stuff is.
A couple of times this time we went on to you know, like you know, have Airbnb experiences.
Oh, okay. Never done one.
So I tried a couple of those with like a local person, you know, like So, and we found those to be good, you know, just a local person walking around with us, having a couple of drinks and tapas and telling us about the history, and you know that we sort of just did that on the day, like it was all impulsive stuff. But that was fun.
There was what was the English guy's name? David, was it?
Mark
in at Salamanca.
Oh God, English guy, was it?
Yeah. He'd lived in Salamanca for 15 years.
Of course, Who hasn't?
History and tapas tour, and 5 hours later.
So we're still sitting in Salamanca.
Plaza Mayor.
Plaza Mayor at 1 o'clock in the morning. So I reckon he had a better time than us.
Yeah. And do you do free walking tours? That's what I normally do. That gets a bit of a local theme to it as well.
We haven't. No, we sort of do our own free walking tours, I guess. But I have found this time. I did sort of do a bit of research, you know, and sent a couple of emails, but they weren't offering English ones in a couple of places we were at. You know, they were still just doing Spanish ones. So, you know, obviously a lot of the English tourists haven't come back to those areas, you know, up in North Spain, anyway, where I looked. So even though I said we do speak a bit of Spanish, not enough to take in a whole tour in Spanish.
Well, Leanne could, but I couldn't.
Right.
So
another question as well, if you are hell-bent on being slow travel, do you have a time to come back, or do you leave that open to when you feel you're ready to fly back to Australia?
Oh no, we generally have our at this stage, you know, we book our return flight, you know.
Okay.
We do that. You know, it just sort of helps with the planning. I like to be a little bit organised with that, don't I? Yeah. Maybe when the COVID whole thing sort of gone, you know, from our memories for good, that might be allowed. I don't know now that you can, you know, some countries won't let you go in unless you have your flight to go home to, you know.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's when we were booking. You know, it was still all this sort of quite a while ago, but just the rules and regulations that they had to make sure that you weren't going to stay and work. I guess I don't know. Anyway, so I probably always have a ticket to come home. Yeah.
Right.
And you know, to be fair, you know, you're missing the kids and the grandkids and
bloody grandkids
and that sort of thing. So
they're ruining my travels.
But we did realise this time that as the grandkids get older, they don't really give a shit about us. So they you're back.
Yeah, you think you've been gone for ages, and they're like, oh, okay, righto.
Oh, I thought I saw you last week.
Yeah. But we're sort of keen to come home and spend the summer months, you know, where, you know, people holiday here where we are, where we live, you know, so it's it is a holiday destination. So, you know, why wouldn't you be here in the summer months where you can, you know, go to the beach every day and enjoy that? So, yeah.
Okay. And here's a question. The perfect scenario in terms of the perfect year, what would you have traveling and staying at home in terms of months? Would it be 6 months on, 6 months off, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, probably, but split over, you know, like maybe a 3-month stint in Europe and then home, and then, you know, like a couple of 2, 3, 4 week sort of trips around Australia, you know, like either up in, you know, North Queensland or Tasmania or something, you know, like just go and enjoy those spots for a little while as well. So that would be probably ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
I just do as I'm told, James.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I get that impression.
Yeah.
Stop it. And the purpose of travel, do you have anything you want to tick off when you go away, or is it purely open to what's there?
I think it's purely open to what's there.
Yeah, really.
We just, you know, we have so much fun, you know, when we go away. So yeah, it's not like we've got to do this or, you know, we just make it up as we go. Yeah.
I think probably you used the word then. The purpose is really just to have fun.
Yeah, just have fun.
Yeah,
you know, and
we love meeting other people.
Yeah. I think that's part of it. My favourite part of it is meeting other people.
For sure.
And that's part of the fun.
How would you meet people? What would be your
bars.
Process there? Bars, yeah.
Stop it.
Actually, it's quite funny because Leanne says to me, and she'll see someone and she'll go, "Would you like to make a new friend today?"
I do sometimes.
And I go, "Why not?"
Yeah, we just go and start talking.
So we
to
just
people.
go, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leanne's approach is, you know, "Would you like to make a new friend today too?"
I do. I guess I see people that, you know, like they look like they would like a chat, so we go and chat to them. I've made some friends through social media as well, you know, like people I've followed because we're going to a certain city, and you know, I follow, you know, see what they're up to, and you know, and you know, we met up with some friends in Marbella that, you know, that we that took us on a day trip, and we met someone on an aeroplane, Oscar from Spain, remember? And you know,
he was from Toledo.
Yeah, so and we met 2 guys from Sydney.
Yeah.
And then 2 guys from Brisbane. Yeah.
So, and quite often, you know, I mean, not all those people were Aussies, but you'll hear an Aussie accent, you know, and of course, like one of the first questions you asked is, who do you support? What football team do you support?
I don't.
And then away you go, you know. But yeah, I think our main purpose. I think the other thing too is that with Leanne, speaking Spanish really enhances the holiday. You know, we were much more adventurous this time. We've been to Madrid maybe 4 or 5 times. This time was the best.
Okay.
Because we listened to a podcast called When in Spain, and one of the podcasts listed, you know, great places to go to in Madrid for tapas.
Authentic tapas.
Authentic tapas.
Yeah.
And they encouraged us not to be intimidated by the bars and all that sort of thing. And we did that one night, and we just had the best night. It was
because they can be a bit intimidating. You know, you walk in as obviously a non-Spanish person, and you know, they sort of stare at you, you know, and anyway. But then that's just, they're not being rude. You know, they just like, what do you want? You know, I'm here to serve you. Get on with it. You know, it's not like in Australia where you say, I don't know, let me look at the menu and I'll come back in a minute. You know, like there's none of that. It's just like, what do you want? You know, I order now.
Most Australian hospitality people wouldn't get a job in Spain.
I find Spanish people love it. They love like serving you. That's what I found anyway when I was there.
Yeah, and especially if you can, ask for a couple of things in Spanish, they just love it. And, you tell them you're from Australia, and they're blown away. Like that. Why would you come so far? And they're absolutely. Did you find this, James? Like people are absolutely shit scared of Australia because of all the deadly animals that
spiders.
Like
it's classic.
Spiders, sharks, snakes,
crocodiles.
When you were in Australia, did you come across any of them?
Huntsman spider, but they don't kill you. They're big.
No.
They look pretty awful.
Yeah, I didn't. I saw a snake on Whitsundays, but it kind of just went away. So yeah, not really. No.
Yeah, but you survived.
Easily. Yeah.
I tell people, and this is actually a true story. When I used to have a dog, a golden retriever cross, Jasper, gorgeous dog, and I lived in an area where there was sort of no life-saving sort of area. So and people say, oh, there's sharks in there. I'm like, it's okay. I'll take my dog swimming with me, and the shark's going to take the dog before he takes me. And people are horrified that I say that, but it's a true story. And Jasper lived to 18, and he did not get eaten by a shark. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's amazing what people are scared by, isn't it? It's amazing.
Oh.
Yeah. But the Spanish, actually, it was funny how Europeans really don't know much about Australia, most.
True.
Liam was talking to a taxi driver, and he actually asked Leanne, do all Australians speak Spanish? He thought we didn't speak English. We actually spoke Spanish.
Because I was speaking to him in Spanish.
Yeah. So,
But then a lot of Australians don't know why we bother speaking Spanish anyway. They're just like, why would you do that?
Same as British people, right? Don't even bother either.
Yeah, right. Yeah, everyone speaks English. Why do you need to speak Spanish? Well,
yeah, exactly.
Your brain. I just love the language learning. It's just something about it. It's amazing.
That's an awful attitude to have, like, as a country.
I know, right?
Yeah.
But that's what they're the same people that go on down the Danube on the river cruise, and you know what I mean, like that.
Oh man,
that's stereotypical.
That's disgraceful.
They do.
Each their own. The only reason I'm learning Spanish is so that I can speak better Spanish than Leanne. Eventually,
yeah.
Good luck, mate.
I think Australia and New Zealand is not really on people's radars most places.
We're going there next year. We love, we just go there to ski in Queenstown, but what a beautiful, beautiful country that is.
Oh yeah, sensational. It's a bit like here. No bears. It's a bonus. That's one thing I'd say, actually. You mentioned sharks and spiders. Here, bears are a problem. I'm not just saying that.
Okay.
So
if
you're going camping for a weekend in the summer, you're going to have to take some bear spray and make sure you don't go too wild, if you like.
Bear spray? Is that like mozzie spray?
No, it's not. No, it's a big can like this, and you just sort of spray it, and then you run away. Hopefully.
Like pepper spray.
Yeah, a bit like that.
Mm-hmm.
But our local cafe had a bear walk past their front door last week. Yeah, and that's in town. Yeah, we camp. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, got a camper van, so
as you can tell. Glamping, maybe.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, up North Queensland, you've got the stingers
in the
ocean, so you can't swim.
Yes, of course.
Up the top.
Yeah.
Look, you've just got to be sensible here.
Yeah.
But we obviously don't have bears or whatever. I mean, up North Queensland, occasionally there'll be floods and the crocodiles. Yeah, they'll come up
horrendous.
They're scary. Actually, a funny story.
You just don't get in the water. Like you just can't get in any water in the Northern Territory, in Darwin, where we went.
Well, we went to Darwin, and we went on on the Adelaide River, which is full of crocodiles. Anyway, the guy, when we did a tour,
literally, bonk, 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 bonk.
Yeah, there's that many crocodiles, the boat drives over them. Anyway, and the guy's got this great big 357 Magnum on his side. Safety instructions were that most importantly, do not take the life jackets out of the black garbage bags that they're in. If you do have to go in, don't take them out. And you sort of look at him.
Yeah, a bit weird.
Said, because the bright coloured orange attracts the crocodile.
Brilliant. Okay.
You've fallen in that river. You're not going to give a damn. You're dead.
Yeah. Well, he also said gather around him so that he was in the middle.
Yeah. Fair enough.
That's true. He did. Yeah.
Yeah, crocodiles. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't really see them either. So, yeah, go to Australia. Go to New Zealand's obviously easy, but Australia, you don't see anything unless you're like unlucky or in the wrong place, maybe. I don't know, but yeah,
and don't read the signs.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's go to Spain. Travel there this year, and you've done a whole podcast series on it, which we'll come to in the podcast section. But Spain as itself, why did you choose Spain?
My grandmother apparently has Spanish heritage. She did have.
Apparently.
That's what the records go back as far as the English records can, but like Spain was conquering everybody, and who knows, right? But that was the rumor, and I just heard that story as a little girl, and I just always wanted to go to Spain. So it's as simple as that for me. And when I met Lyle, I said to him, I just really want to go to Spain, and Lyle said, "What'd you say?"
I said, I guess I'm going to Spain.
So he sort of tagged along, and
that was on our first date.
Yeah, it was on our first date.
Oh wow, and, straight in.
Yeah, straight in. And so I had a girlfriend whose husband was Spanish, so she started teaching me Spanish. I really don't know any that. I've just always wanted to go, and when I got there, I just loved everything about it. Yeah.
I'll tell you a secret, James. We
just don't tell anyone else.
No. I'll tell you a secret. This is a true story. This is a true story. Leanne bought a DNA test for her son for his birthday.
Yeah.
And at the same time,
I said, they said, have two, it'd be cheaper, and it was like, get three, it'll be cheaper. So we decided.
So we decided to get it. Now, of course, Leanne's grandmother was Spanish, and anyway, we got the results back. Have a guess who's got more Spanish than Leanne?
Me. Oh no.
Mr. Irishman over here.
Perfecto.
Yeah.
What was the percentage on your results of Spanish?
6 for me and 11 for him.
Oh wow.
I know.
Double.
How cool's that?
Yeah.
No wonder I can say hola. What is it? Hola so well.
So yeah, we just loved it once we got there, didn't we?
Yeah, and I'm a little bit of a history tragic.
That's true.
So the whole history of European history has always intrigued me.
But if people, there's just something for everybody in Spain, James. Like, if you want beaches and tourism, there's that. If you want history, there's so much history. If you want mountains and hiking, there's that. If you want food, there's that. There's wine regions. There's just fashion and there's just so much, isn't there? Every sort of holiday you could want is really in Spain. And you can ski. A lot of people don't even know that.
That's where Liam wants to go.
Yeah, I want to go.
She wants to ski the Sierra Nevada.
I do. People want to ski in Spain. They're like, there wouldn't be snow in Spain. I'm like, well, they've got half the Pyrenees, mate. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Well, they also got the Picos de Europa, which is where we went.
Up north of Spain, near Galicia, where you went. So so there's just something for everybody.
The food.
What about the art and the museums? We don't even really do museums, but, there's the Gaudi architecture, something for everyone. The traditional horses and flamenco and music, and everywhere we go there's bands playing or music playing. They
do their tradition really well.
They do.
Yeah. And part of that the tradition is the fiestas.
Yeah.
And we just love that. We really like we're in Oviedo, and
which is up in Asturias. North.
Yeah, Asturias, which right next to
Galicia.
Galicia. Every day we went out, we either saw a marching band with bagpipes because it's recognised as a Celtic.
One of the 7 Celtic areas in the world. Yeah.
Then there was a Benedictine convent, and there was a heavy metal band. We walk around the corner.
There's a kids pop band.
There's a pop band. There was we got stuck at that. Well, not stuck. We went to a bar for about 2.5 hours and watched La Tuna. And La Tuna is university,
traditional university band,
back from the 1600s. So they are all dressed in the balloon sleeves and beautiful uniforms, and they sing all the older traditional.
They're playing all the old instruments.
There was about 10 of them, and they could all sing, and they're obviously, a combination of professors and students. And
back in the day, they used to play to get money to eat.
Yeah.
And now they just, play to get free beer and tapas.
And they just, they'll just walk into a shop, a department store, and they sing, and they're really, really good.
And there's each area in Spain too is quite different. As we're talking, like in the north, it's all about, you know, like there's the cider and the produce up there, and in the south it is, you know, it's much more tapas and much more flamenco, and then, you know, on the coast it's much more sort of the Mediterranean Ocean, and you know, the islands of course have all the young scene and all that sort of stuff, you know, so yeah.
Well, in the north of Spain, they're actually, the people are taller and blonder.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't know. I've not been to northern Spain, like the Basque region, right? I've not been there. Like you say, their own culture, their own food, their own drink, own weather, own fashion. It's a really unique country, Spain. It's amazing how they just got ruled for so long by Franco, and then the switch to like being normal, like very, very quickly.
And it wasn't that long ago, you know.
Yeah.
Well, they passed a law, and I can't remember exactly the name of the law, where it was illegal to talk about the Spanish Civil War.
Because it was still dividing people.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, even to this day? Oh, right.
Yeah, they basically said, well, you know, hang on, you know, this is going to keep on going. So they made a law that...
It wasn't the war archives, it was the memories of...
It was called the memory law.
Yeah.
Something like that. Don't hold us to that.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, because you don't talk about the Spanish War in Spain.
But we haven't finished going to Spain. We'll be going back.
That's quite a while ago, the Civil War, though, isn't it? Like, that's like the 30s, right?
Yeah. 36 to 39.
There can't be too many people alive now who are, I don't know, still annoyed by that.
Well, I don't know.
Well, they're not there. Their grandfather might have been or something.
Yeah.
I guess if it's passed down, I suppose. I guess Franco didn't finish till the 70s, right? So, yeah, that kind of makes sense, I suppose.
And the other thing is, which we didn't mention, is it's bloody cheap.
Oh, so cheap. Yeah, ridiculously cheap.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Coming from Canada to there was ridiculous. Yeah.
From Australia, you know, like we get a glass of wine, back to the wine, and you know, like you don't even get it full, and you can pay anything from $9 to $14, $15 for a glass of wine, Australian dollars.
Yeah.
And the same wine, which is a full glass in Spain, is like €1.80.
Yeah, with some tapas on the side, right? Yeah.
Right, free food. You know, like it's
what a place.
Just insane. In fact, when we got home, we went out to a local bar, and I said to Lyle, I can't buy the food here. Like $19 for that. You know,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
I had to get back into the habit.
Yeah. It's a problem, right? Because I went to a Greek restaurant the other day where it's ridiculous money for a souvlaki dinner. I know that's going to cost like €2 or €3 in Greece. So it's hard to come back to here after that, right? I see that.
Yeah. So you can stay for a lot longer. You know, and accommodation's cheaper the longer you stay too, you know, like for a week. An apartment's cheaper than for 2 or 3 nights, right? So
yeah, we Airbnb'd it. Yeah.
Well, I calculated that if we actually could rent our apartment, which, as I said, is right on the beach, and the apartments that we live in, there are rentals. If we could rent that for 6 months while we're away, we'd come back in front.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How's that even a thing?
I know, right? Yeah. And even with the cost of the flights over from here. So, I mean, that's the only negative of travel for us, is the long flights. They're horrendous. We hate them, you know.
Yards far away. There's no getting away from it. Yeah.
However, risk and return.
Yeah.
The idea to be on a plane for 24 hours or to travel 24 hours to be able to go to Spain or anywhere in Europe, to me, it's well worth it.
Oh, of course it is.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't sleep at all on the plane.
Same.
I can't. I try.
And we get horrendous jet lag when we get home. Like we're out of it for at least 5 days. We just know that, you know. And then basically on the 6th day, the switch happens and you're just back to normal. But yeah, there's just no getting any sense out of us for those 5 days.
Well, there's probably not much sense anyway.
I think it gets worse with age, doesn't it? I think I've got worse over
the years. Ammo.
I think you're right, though.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. It is. It's all right.
It will be.
What was some of your favourite spots in Spain? If you had to dip in, I don't know, 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah, I guess I really loved. I guess if you're talking cities, we'd go Madrid over Barcelona any day of the week.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah. Talking beach places, Probably down south near Malaga is a little place that we stayed for 3 weeks called Nerja, Nerja, which had a bit of everything: beach, bit of tourism, free tapas, shopping.
Best free tapas I reckon
Really?
in Spain.
Yeah, but that, and just it's got the Balcón de Europa, which is like an iconic sort of place, which the palm trees and the white pots, and so that's. We both said if we had to, like, we couldn't get a flight home, where would we go back and stay? Would be Nerja. Nice walk along the beach, and I love the way you can, you hire a sunbed and a umbrella. You sit there, and then you think, oh, actually, I'm a bit hungry, I'm a bit thirsty, and there's a restaurant behind you, and you can go and buy yourself a bottle of wine and a bit of snack, and you can just go and sit on the beach. It's brilliant, right? You can't do that here in Australia. You're not allowed to drink on the beach, or
Oh, is that a rule? Yeah, fair.
Yeah, so that'd be me. What about you?
Like what you were saying, Andalusia.
Yeah, that's
all that area down along the Mediterranean. You can't go past it. And then you've, as we talked about before, you've got those beautiful historic town. Well, it's all historic, but it's the special ones: Seville, Granada, Cordoba.
Yeah.
Like, they're just wow. Every corner you walk around, it's just unbelievably.
Cordoba, for instance, which we've just been doing a podcast on, has like the Mesquita, which is mosque. It says it's the second biggest in the world, but inside that mosque is a full-size cathedral. Like, you just can't imagine. Like, that's right. So they're like, we're not going to knock down the Christians. We're not going to knock down this building. It's so big. We're just going to build our cathedral inside here. So you're walking around this Moorish, the arches, and and you just can't see the other side. And next thing you look around the corner, and there's the pulpit and it's just
the
like
altar and the choir.
It's like nothing you've ever seen.
It's just unbelievable. And then you go to the Alcazar across the road, which is basically across the road. You go to the Alcazar, and it's 55,000 square metres of gardens.
Yeah.
Wow.
And what's really weird is, as an Australian, I'd never heard of the Mesquita in Cordoba.
No, I've never heard it until now. Yep.
Well, Alhambra in Granada is like
it's a Moorish castle.
Well,
it's
a fortress.
Fortress.
It's a city. It's the most visited tourist spot in Spain, apparently.
Yeah.
Alhambra.
Oh, okay.
And I'd never heard of it. It's stunning.
And it's all the Moorish architecture.
Yeah.
And like the detail in it and everything, and
got the city wall and it's amazing.
Yeah. But to go back, I think I loved North Spain. I didn't think I would, but we went to a place called Santander.
Oh yeah, Santander. Yeah.
And it was magnificent.
Like, I really liked Oviedo, and we actually went to a glacial lake in the Picos de Europa in Spain. You think of it as olive groves and red wine, and the cider. I don't know if you've seen how they pour the cider, and in that area, it's just that's definitely tell people to go there.
Yeah, well, Covadonga and
the Covadonga Basilica and the lakes, and So that's it. So I'd definitely say Oviedo in north. I would definitely go back. Asturias in Spain, that's right, and down south in the Andalusia. Yeah.
Okay, and you said you travelled to 40 plus villages and cities. That's quite a lot.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of places.
Well, yeah, and when I was counting them up, it's probably closer to 50, because once again, if you stay in a place for a week, you can do day trips, right? It's really easy to hop on the train and go half an hour here or half an hour there, and you just make it up as you go along. Like one of the favourite places we went this time, we went to a little wine area called La Rioja, which is famous for, obviously, mostly red wines. And we went to a little capital of that area called Haro, Haro. And I made friends with the taxi driver, just speaking on Instagram actually, and someone recommended, and so he took us on a day trip to this little village called La Guardia. Now, this little village, it's up high,
630 metres.
So it's a medieval wine village, and you're standing up there, and you've got a glass of red wine, and all around you there's a mountain range, but all you can see
Cantabrian.
And there's 600 bodegas or wineries in that area, and people in Spain have never heard of this place, and it was like a fairy tale.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it's those little things that you discover when you're there is amazing.
And especially like if you get to talk to a local and they'll tell you, you know, if they do know about it. And then like the taxi driver that Leanne was talking about, Jose, he was fabulous. Like we would never have ever known anything about that but for the fact that he took us there.
So we do the little we went to another sort of winery, you know, from Burgos, you know, we just hop on a bus for half an hour, and in Oviedo we did a day trip, you know, so so it's the little day trips we do that add to it as well, like that village number. We haven't stayed in all of those, but we've certainly been to them and explored. And there's a little place up near Santander called Camillas, and that's where Gaudi built a house for one of his rich mates. It's the one that's covered in sunflowers and green tiles, right? You know, the Capriccio de Gaudi, and that's another little medieval village that we've never heard of. So
the key point here is if you can get in contact with a local, you really are going to see way more than what maybe you can even research, because like some of these places you said I've never heard of ever.
Yeah. Right?
Well, we looked at this particular taxi driver, and you think, well, that's going to be expensive. Well, it's not, because if you hire a car for a week, you're probably going to use it 2 or 3 days. The rest of the time it's going to sit in the garage. Now, was it expensive to catch a cab? Probably. Was it worth it? Absolutely.
I think it was, but I don't think it was. I think it was like €1 for him to take us there and take us back, you know,
but it was just fabulous.
Yeah.
And of course the weather was just unbelievable.
Yeah. I guess, James, I do reach out to people on Instagram that I see, you know, that put posts on, or I listen to podcasts, and if someone's interviewed and they talk about a spot, and then I sort of chase them up and, you know, send them a message and ask them, you know, some advice or whatever. You know, and people are just so eager to help you too, you know.
That's what I'm trying to do at the minute with Greece, right? I'm trying to just try and find some locals. One, if they want to just obviously tip where we can go, where I can go, but also if they want to come on the podcast, right? That's another aim.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, maybe off season's proven a bit more difficult, but the people who reached out are travellers, not really locals. So it's interesting. I've got a few contacts. So it does work. It just maybe a bit of perseverance, really.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, you got on to Jose through...
Yeah, I was saying through a podcast.
Through a podcast, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was someone who'd used him and said, this guy will look after you and he won't rip you off. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a recommendation. I'm going with that.
Well, what happened was, remember, we wanted to go to the wine regions.
Yes.
For obvious reasons.
There's a guy called the Spanish Wine Collective I follow.
And he's an English guy too.
Yeah.
And so Leanne got in contact with him and said, this is where we're going. They said, no, you don't want to go there. You don't want to go there.
You want to go here.
You want to go here, which was that Arles.
Yeah.
And
in La Rioja.
Yeah, again, he had the local knowledge. And we went there and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
And we stayed in a parador there.
Yeah, we stayed in this place it started as a monastery, and then it became a military hospital, and then it was a jail. And then in 1989, it became a luxury hotel. I guess it was pretty luxury. Yeah, so it was pretty, you know, we love that sort of thing too. I don't know if have you heard of the Paradors or Paradores de España? Parador? What that is? No? Well, the government bought up all these old buildings, have turned them into accommodation, but they bought them, you know, buildings of significance or in areas of significance. So they are government run. But, you know, you can be staying like we did in one little place in an old palace, you know. So there's monasteries and palaces and places on the edges of cliffs, and, you know, so it's, and they only really have them in Spain, I think. But they're not that expensive, you know, and they're all over Spain, but they're not in the middle of, say, Madrid or Barcelona, you know, they're going to be, you know, in the smaller towns and in areas that, you know, and...
But they have to reach a certain standard.
That's right.
To be recognised as a parador. So the food...
Yeah, the food has to be local as well. So, you know...
Oh, wow.
So you don't even have to stay there. You can go and have a meal, you know. And there's a parador in Toledo that is sort of just out of town. And we didn't get there this day, but I could see it. And someone said, just go there and have coffee, you know.
Oh, that was Oscar.
Yeah, go there and have coffee, and you can look back, you know, at the city. So... yeah, it's certainly worth finding out where the paradors are, because they're either really interesting buildings or they're in fascinating places to stay.
Oh, good tip. I've never heard of that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. That's a fantastic tip. Yeah. It's a bit like the Scotland tip. If you ever go to Scotland, to go and stay in the boffies, right?
Boffy?
Yeah, boffy. Ever heard of one of those?
No.
They're like traditional Gaelic, Scottish built stone. They're not as big as a house, but they're like little bungalow things in the ground, right? So you can stay in them for free. Yeah, they're dotted around the Highlands and all northern Scotland and on the walking trails, and they're free. You just need to accept people who come over, right?
Really?
So, yeah.
Huh.
Little accommodation for you. Yeah, boffy. Yeah, there you go.
That's what she calls me sometimes.
Yeah. That sounds like an Australian nickname, actually, boffy.
Yeah, it does. We love nicknames.
So for Spain, I've got a few questions. Yeah. Food. Was there like one dish or tapas dish or any other dish that you loved?
Look, for me, there's two. I love the jamón. Did you get any of that when you were in Galicia?
No.
It's just like the Iberian ham, and they slice it so thinly, and it's so creamy. It's divine. I love that. And
they feed them the pigs are fed on acorns. Sorry.
Yeah. And the other one I love is just their traditional breakfast, which is like fresh bread, grated tomato with the olive oil on top. I love that. What about you? What's your favourite food?
James, do you class wine as food?
Oh, Scott.
That's my next question, so I'll come to that.
Yeah.
No, my favourite is we were in Cordoba once, and I ordered the pork cheek, and I put my knife, which wasn't serrated, and I put it on it, and I said, Elaine, look at this. I said, it's like going through melted butter.
Dream.
They do pork well.
The pork was beautiful. Duck. They do great duck.
Yeah.
Olives, of course.
And obviously, on the Mediterranean, the seafood, and they do it on in Malaga. We went to a restaurant there, and they actually cooked the fish on the beach outside.
We did have some nice paella as well.
Yeah, and what was that? Was the cod? We had a lot of cod up north. Bacalao. Yeah.
We like all the food.
yeah. And Nerja, as I said. What about Zaragoza? The area.
El Tubo,
which is
that's a city you need to go to, James, when you get back to Spain. Zaragoza. It's halfway between Madrid and Barcelona.
Okay, I just know the football team. I don't know much about it.
Beautiful. The parks, the history, and there's got this tapas area called El Tubo, and it's about 4 blocks, and there's just tapas bars everywhere. It's where all the locals go.
Yeah.
And you just can't go wrong there.
Okay, put it on the list. And the next question is wine. So what was the best wine?
Yeah, well, we're generally white wine, so we normally go for the Verdejo. But there was a wine up north from Galicia, actually, wasn't there? And that's sort of a new wine area.
Yeah, it was
Blanc or something, wasn't it? BLANK.
El Brin.
El
Brin, not to be mistaken by El Brino.
Yeah.
It's called El Brin wine, and we had that in Oviedo.
But it was from Galicia, wasn't it?
And and it had only just really been certified.
Very crisp white.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, but I go now to we have a shop here called Dan Murphy's. It's like a big liquor warehouse, right? Uncle Dan's, we call him. And I go and buy myself a little red Rioja from time to time, which is nice. Yeah. So.
Do you both drink coffee?
Yes.
What was the best city to drink coffee in? Do you think, just to watch the world go by?
Not in Spain. They're not real good on the coffee. You just it's a lot better this time. We were there, but that you just get cafe con leche or cafe, which is black or white coffee.
Yeah.
It's not all the stuff. They're becoming a bit more modernised, aren't they? Do you remember in Alicante we had nice coffee?
Yeah.
You can probably go over there and introduce some coffee. They don't sort of do Colombian beans and things like that, but that you like. Coffee's pretty good here.
Australian coffee.
Yeah.
Really
Australia's good coffee, and New Zealand. Way better than here. Well, yeah. American coffee's shit, right? So we get a lot of that influence, but yeah, the gold standard is probably Australia or New Zealand, I think we found. Or Italy. Got to put Italy in there.
It is getting better in Spain.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did find it better. But we also found that the wine, since we've been going there, the wine's got so much better.
Yeah. We're on to coffee now.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But we are still coming to wine in the next part. So you can carry on there if you want. Okay. The best food I had when I was in Galicia was called tortilla pincho.
Okay.
I don't know if you had that. It's normally a tapas with beer, sort of like a scrambled egg, which has been really nicely like seasoned in a tortilla. I think chickpeas came with it as well, or some sort of peas in it as well. Unreal. Yeah. Just like free food, the beer.
They've got it worked out, haven't they?
I can't believe it's a thing. Every time you go somewhere, like, oh, do you want a bit of this? Like, well, yeah, okay. It's like, oh.
Well, in Nerja, we went to that particular, a lot of the bars where you actually, it's free and you get a menu, right? So there's a list of what you can have.
So you order.
And it's cooked to order.
And it's free.
And it's free.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But we're talking about before Alhambra, which you hadn't heard of, in Granada. Granada's known for the best free tapas in Spain as well.
Okay. Again, I think they all do it differently, right? Different regions do it a bit differently.
Yeah, well, up north, as you said, it's more, they call it pinchos rather than tapas.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to go quickly to Australia, as you're from there.
Yeah.
You had some sort of funny story you're telling me that you wanted to maybe share about Australia.
When we did go on that Adelaide River trip, you know, like you're on a boat where the sides sort of come up to here, you know, of metal and then nothing. And I'm up taking photos because they get this big chicken carcass and hang it out over the side.
Oh, crikey. Yeah.
And literally the 6-metre crocodiles just jump straight up out of the water and grab it, you know. And
like the end of their tail.
Yeah.
You're talking 6 metres.
Yeah.
The end of the tail is just touching the water. Land's up there taking photos, right? Yeah, I don't know about you, Jimmy, but I got to tell you, I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, if they can jump that high, maybe they didn't get the memo that they can't jump in the boat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. And Leanne's saying to me, "Don't be a sook."
Yeah.
And I'm going, Leanne, I'm not happy about this. And this is the same river where when the boat's going along, it's hitting all the crocodiles.
And then we pulled up, you know, they sort of nudge into a bit of a mud bank, and one of the crocodiles sort of swims up beside the boat. Next thing, there's a freaking bull shark that's trying to
attack the crocodile.
But at that stage, I was thinking, okay, I'm not that safe. Let's get out of here.
So then we go back to get off, and there's a lizard the size of a horse. As we've got to go along the gangway.
Yeah.
And it's got its head in an esky.
Yeah. Oh.
And Leanne has a go at me because the Spanish, you know, I'll tell stories to the Spanish people. We sit in a bar and they'll say, "Oh, what's Australia like?" And I'll tell them these stories, and Leanne gets the shits at me and says, "Don't tell them."
Yeah, stop being negative about Australia, but this is a
but
true
it's
story.
True.
Yeah.
You know.
And then one of the crocodiles name was Brutus, and he only had 3 legs because it got bitten off by a bull shark.
Yeah.
So we probably won't go and do a crocodile tour anytime soon.
Yeah, I wasn't that keen on the crocodiles. I didn't know.
Yeah, there's a little place at the back of Darwin called Humpty Doo, which is where the Adelaide
classic
River.
Australian name.
I know, right?
Yeah,
isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Humpty Doo.
Humpty Doo.
Yeah, I mean, but like Darwin's a beautiful city. I mean, like beautiful, and you've got
the Kakadu,
Litchfield.
Yeah.
Litchfield. Again, you can go for a swim in the rivers in Litchfield, was it?
Litchfield National Park, yeah. They reckon the crocodiles can't get up there.
Yeah.
They reckon.
And again, I wasn't that keen on that either because I wasn't sure whether they read the menu and they're not allowed in there.
Yeah.
You just imagine grabbing hold of his foot when he's swimming in front of me.
So as you can probably aware, I'm quite a coward, actually, whenever it comes down to it. But there's some beautiful parts of Australia.
Yeah, and next one was Great Barrier Reef, right? I guess you've been there and done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually did our through COVID because we couldn't go anywhere. We could go in Queensland. We went and did our scuba certificate.
Oh, what, the paddy?
Scuba diving.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And on the Whitsundays.
Yeah.
So up at
not Whitsundays, up at Port Douglas.
Port Douglas,
right.
So and part of doing that was every day you went out onto the reef, you know, to do it. So not in the pool. We did a bit in the pool, but then we went out and did it, you know. So our first dives, our learning dives are, you know, it was, out doing that. It was hard work though, James.
I don't go in water, so I wouldn't know. But
that's right. I did hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So James doesn't swim.
Okay.
A lot of English guys don't, do they?
Yeah, it's not even the swim portion. It's just the fear of deep water. I just don't like it.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, you wouldn't want to scuba, but we did that, and so the Great Barrier Reef. I mean,
off Airlie, we did the reef sleep.
Yeah, so Port Douglas is off Cairns, a bit higher up, and then sort of maybe 3 or 4 hours down is Airlie Beach, where the Whitsundays are.
Sundays, yeah.
And we went there and did some more diving and snorkeling, but we also did what they call a reef sleep. And it's probably going to appeal to you because you're on water, but there's a big pontoon which is sort of anchored in, like a coral estuary. So it's not, hasn't got all the ocean sort of swell and stuff. And on top, they've got these little glamping tents. And I think there's 8 of those in total. And then underneath, you can sleep. There's 2 suites where you can sleep underneath, and the wall of glass, and you can see the fish. Wow. But we stayed on top. So a big boat comes out, drops everybody, then the big boat goes, and the people sleeping on the reef stay there. So you're out, I don't know how many nautical miles, I don't know how that, but it's about a 2-hour trip. So you're out on the Great Barrier Reef, watching the sun go down, and it's a 5-course meal included with it. And you've got your own personal chef. And
wow.
Oh, yeah, so I think there's about 16 to 20 people, and you just make some. We've still got friends from that we've met. We've done it twice now, and it's probably one of the most magical things you can do is that reef sleep, right?
So it's true, I do spoil her.
That's not cheap, is it? That little trip, surely not.
Well, it's pretty good value for money when you break it down. What it costs you to go out to do. To get there,
it's not cheap to do.
But the accommodation is not cheap up there.
Yeah,
your meal, your 5-course meal, like when you really break it down, it's really good value for money.
And how many people can say they've slept on the Great Barrier Reef?
Well, yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, and then we did
and then you can snorkel on your own. So there's just you and these other people staying on the boat. So you're not surrounded by kids with noodles, and which you didn't know what a noodle was, but you do now, I believe. Yeah. You're not surrounded by all that. You just you can just float around and just enjoy it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then we did a trip down to Tasmania.
Oh, I'd love to go there. I've not been.
Yeah. We did a road trip for 3 weeks, which was really nice.
So we did the lap
of
Tasmania, and
you've got really nice wine down there too, James.
Of course. Yeah.
And almost I'd say maybe even better, oysters.
Oh my God, you like oysters?
No.
You're missing out. They've got the best oysters. They're basically, you're sitting at a restaurant and they're like, we're just going to go get some oysters. They go and grab them from.
It's beautiful. Yeah. But Tasmania is just.
It's a bit like Queenstown. Like a little bit. With the. They do have some of those snow-capped mountains, and
sure.
They've got the World Heritage. What's the name of that park? Like the Derwent River.
On the west coast, it's pretty well. It's hardly inhabited at all.
Yeah.
And they've kept it.
About 2/3 of Tasmania is national park.
National park, yeah, and through there, like when I'm not all that, what's the word? Conservationist.
Oh, you're not a real greenie.
Yeah, not a real greenie.
Not a tree hugger.
Right, and there was years and years ago there was big protests about them doing a Franklin Dam.
Yeah, they were going to
in Tasmania, and they were going to do this and do that, and I've got to say, after going there and having a look at it.
You can see why they want to protect it.
You could see why they wanted to protect it. It was that outstanding.
Yeah, it's quite it's not overdeveloped either. It's a little country place.
Forgotten part of Australia normally, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
But there's so many times we actually did hire a car there, and there's so many times there's not a car behind you. You can't see a car behind you or a car in front of you.
The thing is, though, it got quite popular over COVID, and what happened was they, all the hire car places said, oh, well, nobody can travel. We're going to have to sell these cars. So they've sold everything. And then, okay, we can travel again in Australia. And they hardly had any cars. So what they had were, A, really hard to get, and B, very expensive. So, you can take your own car across. There's like the Spirit of Tasmania that leaves from Melbourne. You can drive on. A lot of people take their own, vans and caravans and things. But that's not cheap either. So, but it's definitely worth Tasmania for sure.
Okay, and the best wine region in Australia?
We've been to a few. There's obviously Margaret River, which we love.
We're going to be there in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's obviously Barossa and Adelaide Hills,
Clare Valley, McLaren Vale.
the Tasmanian, the Tamar Valley, and the East Coast Tasmania. I'd say at the moment, I'd have to say that's my favourite wine. But there's actually a wine region here in Queensland that people used to say, "Oh, Queensland wine's shit," because it's sort of a warmer climate. But that part of Queensland isn't. And
the Granite Belt.
Yeah, they're coming up with some really nice wines now too. So
Okay.
But I think we sort of look at wine now. Probably more, we'll pick a wine because of the region rather than the actual winery. And I think like the Pinot Gris, Tasmania. I think the best wine I've ever tasted was that Stefano Labiani. Labiana
at Tasmania.
In Tasmania. Unbelievably beautiful. You can't buy it
buy a lot of Tasmanian wines in the mainland because they don't make enough to export.
Yeah, they don't make enough to export, but just beautiful. In fact, we had that at
we had that in Port Douglas.
Port Douglas, yeah, it was just magnificent. We went there for dinner, and then we went back the next day, just in the middle of the afternoon, because we
found the wine.
Are
you a wine drinker, James?
Dessert wine?
Okay.
So no, not really. But I did work on vineyards when I was in Australia, so I do have a little bit of.
Where did you work? In Margaret River?
Yeah, there's a few there. Devil's Lair, you might know, in Margaret River.
Devil's Lair, yeah.
Yeah. Worked on that, and then House of Cards. There's one called little one called House of Cards. Yeah. I've done a few jobs on that.
Joker label.
Yeah, Joker label. Yeah. They do ice cream, right, and chocolate maybe. I think, am I right?
Maybe.
But obviously wine. But I think
Margaret River's beautiful. I mean, and their restaurants.
Yeah, they do
not the restaurants. They're the actual wineries with the restaurants in them.
Oh, dreamy.
Some of those ones like Bass Felix and
yeah, Cullen's.
Yes, of course. Yeah,
just unbelievable.
It's an experience just going, even if you don't drink wine, just to go there and see the gardens and the buildings and things, isn't it?
Yeah, but we're probably more like the cold climate, like the Pinot Gris, the Sauv Blancs, whereas WA's more red, I think, and Chardonnays and Semillons.
We'll have a crack at anything and see if we like it.
Leanne normally goes for the most expensive one on the wine list. She thinks, well, it's got to be okay.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I remember a job I'd done in Margaret River, and that's so small. I'm not a wine connoisseur, but he told us they were expensive grapes, and he only has to do this once a year, and he makes enough money to keep it. And it took, I don't know, 4 hours to pick these grapes. And it's so small, this little vineyard. I don't know I have no idea what it's called, but this guy said, yeah, these go for a lot of money. So I just do it once a year and that's it.
Yeah.
Like he prunes it and then, obviously picks the grapes and that's done. Whereas like Devil's Lair is huge. So
having a winery, and they said, the best way to make $1 million in a winery is to start with 10. So, it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, that's a hard job. The pruning is pretty tough, and also the picking the grapes is pretty tough.
Yeah, for harvest, I can imagine.
Someone's got to do it. Yeah.
Someone's got to do it for us. Thanks,
yeah,
James.
for you. Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah. We really appreciate it. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Interesting times. Okay. Any other countries you want to just mention before I go to ask you what's next on the horizon?
Japan.
Yeah, we love.
Oh yeah, you've been to Japan.
Yeah, skiing.
Yeah.
Culture shock
for sure.
I was going to mention Japan earlier. I forgot. Yeah, you only said about just going for it in a bar, right? Spanish bar. Just don't be intimidated. I found in Tokyo, for example, the izakayas that go down underground, the smoky like pubs they have, quite intimidating because there's no signs in English. They're speaking Japanese. They're full of like businessmen. I was like, do we risk it? Do we go in? That was pretty intimidating.
Very, very, very safe though.
Oh, super safe. Yeah, and in terms of trying to get across what you want. Because a lot of Japanese don't speak English, so that's what I found anyway.
Oh, exactly. And I think they have their rules. Like we tried to just turn up 6 of us Aussies, to a restaurant. We were staying in a ski resort where there was 4 or 5 different restaurants, and we thought, well, we'll just wait till 6 o'clock. We'll get together and we'll pick which one. None of them would take us because you have to book before 4:30. Now they weren't full. The resort, it wasn't full.
Yeah.
But the rules are that you book or you don't get in, and there's just no flexibility in that.
We've been skiing all day. We're all thirsty as.
Yeah. So, but no, they are just like, okay.
But the other thing I found with Japan is it's spotless.
Yeah.
There's no rubbish bins.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that.
So you take everything with you.
So they take it with them.
Oh, wow.
And the other thing is they've got the best toilets in the world.
Yes, they are the best toilets, yeah. And the best bathrooms as well. Like, I don't know if you experienced this. I told a story before on a podcast where we stayed in a capsule hotel and the male bathroom was like jacuzzi, sauna.
Yeah, I saw
shower.
that. Was with Jake, was it?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Jake's
And
podcast.
Emma got like a bath, and that was it. And I was in there for like nearly an
no.
hour. That was unreal.
No, I had a bit of time just like, you know, like the seat's warm and then you press a button, there's birds start to chirp, so, you know, people can't hear what's going on. It's a bit of privacy. And then you're like, you know, you press a button and you think like, you know, it's like the bidet part of it. And, you know, like you think, you know, it just goes, yeah. I just like, imagine trying to toilet train children there. Like they'd never get off the toilet. Stop it. Stop. Don't even. I know exactly what you're going to say and you're not to say it. Move on from toilets. No.
Yeah, and I think where else we go? Oh, New Zealand. We talked about New Zealand. New Zealand's just glorious. And you've been to Egypt.
Yeah. Well, I did love Egypt. Have you been there?
No. On my list.
You either love it or hate it. I think, you know, it's one of those countries that you can't really be. Oh, will I go to Egypt? I'm not sure. You either really want to go or don't go, because it's pretty full on in your face. Yeah,
I think you have to get into it there. From what I've heard, you have to really like just embrace it, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. But I did love that. It's a bit of a culture shock when you come from privileged white Australia, you know, to, you know, like a Muslim country, which you don't know much about.
Yeah, that was one of the questions actually earlier, was like the culture shock. I guess that was Egypt for you.
Yeah.
What about you? Japan, I guess.
Yeah, Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, Japan. I'm probably Spain, really.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
From Australia when you've never been.
It's you know, because you've got the siestas, you've got the fiestas, you've got the how they look after their older people, like the family thing,
people
the bullfighting, you know,
and
how they're so proud of that, you know. It was interesting. I was looking at and I don't know how true this is, but it was on Wikipedia, and they were saying, you know, what happens to the bulls that if they kill the matador.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And this particular article said, well, not only did they kill the bull to kill the matador, they killed the mother of that bull.
Oh, wow.
To stop the bloodline, which I think's a bit unfair.
Yeah, it's a bit unfair. Yeah.
Untidy. Now, I don't know how true that is. Don't take this for gospel. But
also the culture shock in Spain, where you see families like grandma and the parents and then the grandkids, you know, they're just all wandering around
at midnight.
You know, late at night, you know, it's nothing, you know, and kids are so welcome and they sit and they behave themselves. And we went out for dinner the other night and they said, oh, you've got to be gone by 7. You know, we went early I was with the grandkids, and you know, the two seating thing here, and they push you out. Whereas in Spain, they have a term for it. It's called sobremesa, which is around or above the table. So you have your meal, and they don't come near you again unless you want something, you know. And part of the Spanish culture is you just sit and chat, you know, like you can be in a restaurant for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And, that's really normal. So that's very different than what we do here, for sure.
And you always like hear about the best way to sleep and prepare yourself like day to day to live longer, right? And I get it, but a lot of that is like the standard Western, what we do, right? 9 to 5 jobs, make sure you exercise in the morning, eat well. But like these Spanish and Italian countries, they're like out till midnight or 1 a.m. just having family dinners. So like, well, it doesn't work for them, but some of these guys like are really old and they live like for ages.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if you heard the blue zones, but you know, that's the people that, you know, live in living the longest around the world. Well, you know, Spain is some of the longest living. Italians are, and it's, you know, they just have this Mediterranean diet. They don't even have gyms really in Spain. You know, like you don't see people heading off to the gym like you do in other countries. They just walk, you know, and they don't eat a lot. You know, they're not overeating because they're chatting, and you know,
very rare to see obese people there.
Yeah, that's what I found. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird thing to see.
Yeah, and yet they eat and they drink all day.
Yeah, exactly. So what's that about?
Unfortunately, it doesn't work for me.
No, same.
I wish it did.
That might be something to do with your age again, honey.
Oh, okay. You stick with Jimmy.
Place on the horizon. What's next?
Well, we're off to the Gold Coast next weekend. Lyle's godson's a racing car driver in a Porsche car, so there's like a round of the supercars. So right there in Surfers, it's not that far, but it's a fun weekend at Surfers Paradise every time we go there.
Yeah.
And we said we're off to Margaret River in November, and we're going to go down to Albany and check out the giant trees down there. And then just home for Christmas, because that's where you want to be. In February, we're going to Mexico.
Oh, nice. Any plans?
Yeah.
Like specific areas?
Do you know what? We had a tour booked. We've never been on a tour together, but we had a tour booked back before COVID, and of course we couldn't take that, so we've had this credit to use up, and we just basically had to pick somewhere, and I just wanted to go to another Spanish-speaking country, and I have been to Mexico when I worked on the cruise ship. So so we're sort of on a small tour, so we don't really get to choose where we go, but we start in Mexico City.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of free days at the end in one of the all-inclusive resorts in Cancun. So we're looking forward to that. There's something a bit different, Like I love Mexico when I went. It was like 10 years ago, but they're just some really nice people, and so looking forward to that. And then we're off to New Zealand again to do some skiing.
Yeah, ski holiday next August.
Yeah, with 8 adults, 8 children. So that'll be fun, won't it? Yeah,
we're staying
an extra week after they all go home.
Yeah, you might need it.
yeah, exactly. And I guess it depends for us on the stock market. That's sort of our income. Whether we get back to Spain, and so we'll probably do a bit more around Australia. We've got some friends down in Melbourne, around Sorrento area, the Yarra Valley, and that sort of thing. So make it up as we go.
Yep, sounds great. Okay, and the next subject is going to be your podcast.
Yes.
So the name is Beach Travel Wine Podcast. The obvious question is, what is it about? But I think that's pretty obvious. Why did you choose that?
Look, when we sold our business, I thought I'd start a travel blog, and I'm like, I've got to come up with a name, a name. And I just couldn't come up with it. And I'm like, well, we live at the beach, we love going to beaches. It's about family coming here to the beach, and we want to travel. Obviously, we love travel, and we love wine. And I guess the wine isn't just about wine. The wine's about going out and enjoying meals, and it was just like the word that represented that. So I just thought that was the name that sort of suited. So that's what stuck, really.
And who do you appeal to on your podcast? What is the audience, and what is the premise? Yeah,
that's a really good question. They say you should know who your ideal avatar is, and I guess our audience are people that like to have a bit of fun when they travel, and like basically, we sort of thought. We love talking to our friends and family about our travels. People love to hear our stories. So we just like someone who would like to get a glass of wine or a beer or even a coffee. Sometimes we're beach travel cup of tea. Sometimes I'm having a cup of tea. But, just someone who'd like to sit down and listen to some, stories from people that actually are on the ground going traveling. It's not all about telling you all the good stuff. It's just about the travel stories and sharing it like a friend, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think Leanne approached me about it, and I said, well, whatever, if you want to do it, that's fine.
If ever I say to Lyle, I was thinking, and you're like, oh, here we go. What now?
Yeah. So I think really it's a little bit like what we said before. When Leanne will say to me, do you want to make a new friend today? To me, that's how I put, generalize it. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying there. Maybe I haven't explained it properly, but it's more about having people that they have a laugh while they're listening to us.
Yes.
Both Leanne and I love telling jokes. From my point of view, it's just about really just, having a chin wag.
I remember hearing you say that, you tried to talk your partner into doing it with you, and you said she wouldn't have a bar of it. I don't think I could do it on my own. I think the way that we interact and chat, like Lyle's really good at the history and the research and the numbers, and that bores the shit out of me. I want to describe the pretty flowers I saw and the beautiful cobblestone streets, and I want to take the videos, and so we just sort of somehow fell into that. There was no planning. It was just let's do this and see how it goes, and we did our first one, hotel room in Paris, remember?
Yeah.
And we just loved it. We got off it. We're like, oh, look at us go. We're both.
That's awesome, yeah.
Of course, you can tell we're both really shy. So
yeah, of course. Yeah.
And my daughter said to me, Mum, have a go and, do it for Spain. And if you don't want to do it anymore, you don't have to. But if you do, you do. And we just enjoy it. I'm a bit lazy when it comes to all the work. So we just do it on a free app, and we just record it on the phone, and I don't edit because I don't know how yet.
Okay.
Very
organic.
very raw. Very organic, yeah. But we've had people listen from all over the world, and you know, it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
I think for me, the most benefit I've got from doing the podcast is because we do a lot more research.
We do.
And I'm one of these guys. I'm very curious. Like, if I see something I'm not sure of, I'll have to go and find out about it. And so all of a sudden you start digging holes, and, you know, whether it be about the bullfighting and the poor bull, you know. The only reason I found out about that because I was trying to find out something else about bullfighting.
Right.
And so to me, I just love and it really, really enhances the holiday.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we definitely think that. And
I think we've probably been to more places in Spain than most Spaniards.
Yeah.
And I think we probably know more about their history than most Spaniards.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to keep going, and I'm going to try and podcast when we go to Mexico, and maybe do like because we haven't done a tour. You know, I thought we'll be like, what's it like, you know, and just give, you know, like maybe a daily update, or, you know, and break it into a couple of podcasts over a couple of weeks maybe. But you know, like I think that might be interesting, and then you just you just pay a bit more attention, you know, to what you're doing. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is that when you talk about slow travel, the fact that we stay in most places for 7 days, we can actually allocate 1 day.
Yeah, you got a bit of time, right?
The podcast.
Yeah. You probably answered the question. Does it affect your travels? Does it impact?
Well, it enhances it for sure.
Yeah, enhances it. That's interesting. That I'd worry that it wouldn't enhance it. That it become more of a stress on your travels.
No, I find that I really enjoy it.
The recording of the podcast is the easiest bit. You know, when you've been somewhere for a week, you know where you've been, you know what, you know, you can talk about where to go to eat, the highlights and that sort of stuff. And it's actually really, really easy. As I said, you know, like I'll just say to Lyle now, like this is sort of the format I want to take. You know, like let's talk about the beach, let's talk about the restaurants, let's talk about, you know, our day trip. And that's about the only organisation that we have of it.
Yeah, and you know, to be honest, I find that, and we've never really spoken about this, but I think that both of us, while we're doing the podcast, is just waiting for the opportunity to stick it up the other.
Oh, stop it!
I honestly, because we're sitting there, and there's always part of it where, you know, something comes up where one of us is making a fool of ourselves, or you know. Yeah. And I think that's what I like about it, is just waiting for that opportunity to get back at her.
The biggest challenge now is just getting in front of people, right? You know, that's I guess that's the whole thing for podcasters, you know, like getting the downloads, getting the listeners, that sort of thing.
And would you entertain any guests?
To be honest, we hadn't thought about it. The technology side of it I'd have to sort out, but we're certainly not anti having guests, are we?
Oh, no, that's right.
We're still sort of new at it. We're only up to episode 24, so we're still sort of learning, you know, what we're doing. But certainly, I mean, hopefully we can keep traveling and have enough travel stories to share. But you know, like talking to somebody, you know, who's maybe been there or is there is certainly, or someone that's got an interesting travel story to share for sure. Yeah, I think it's something that we definitely would look at doing.
Just another benefit of, you know, the podcast, from my point of view, is that, you know, we do these photo books everywhere we go, the Facebook photo books and whatever. And part of the appeal for me is to have something on audio, because Leanne reckons she's going to last longer than me. So I'm going first. So I'm sure that whether or not she does it, statistically speaking.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love the idea of when we're, you know, old and whatever, and being able to
listen back.
Yeah, exactly.
For that to me is special.
Yeah. If you do it for yourself, then in a way, if you're trying to do it for downloads, it doesn't really work. For me, it's just if I'm on the road recording, it's just like so I can remember where I was and where I had coffee and who I met.
Sure.
Because I've been traveling before and I've got so much stuff. So like it's criminal really. And I didn't really take many photos back in the day. So I've got memory, Facebook, and maybe a couple of friends that I've met. But yeah, you're right. If you can just record it and look back and go, oh, that's what we did. That's the main reason really, isn't it?
And Lyle's gone back even, you know, to some of the early ones that we did while we were, you know, traveling this time, and he's already forgotten some of the places that we went, you know, like, so it's really...
That's probably an age thing too.
Age thing, I think.
There's a common theme to this, talking to old people. Yeah, but it's a lot of fun, and it's something that we do together, like as well.
Yeah,
It's really good. I just say to Lola, we're going to record a podcast this week. I want to do it on Thursday. So the recording of it's the easy part, to be honest. Like with that, we don't have an issue with that. I sort of got myself a job by wanting to do show notes, and so I sort of type them up. It's not a transcript as such, but it's like a summary of the podcast, and I put photos. And that takes me probably longer than the podcast, but so it's not for downloads. But if I can get the podcast done and the show notes done in the week, we're done. Anything else, the social media stuff is a bonus for sure.
Got it. And to confirm, you've only got one sort of series, and that's about Spain so far, right? 24 episodes on that.
Yeah. We didn't know whether we'd stop with Spain and do some Australian ones, but we've got a couple more to do from Spain. This week we're doing Gibraltar, which is Spain technically, but we did that. So we've got Gibraltar, we've got
San Sebastian,
and the next one to come out, which we've already recorded, is Marbella, which is one of the and then we're going to move on to probably the Reef Sleep and Darwin and the Tasmania, and hopefully we'll do like Margaret River and that sort of thing as well. So cool. That's sort of back to Australia, I guess. Yeah.
We'll do Darwin.
Oh yeah, Darwin. Yeah. What's your frequency of your podcast? Is it every week or every 2 weeks?
Yeah, we're trying to do it every week.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's one thing, like you say, people say, like to be consistent. So, I said to Lola, if nothing else, the goal is to get a podcast out. If we miss a week, I guess nobody will notice. I don't know why. Like when you start something, you want to do it well, right? That's the way I sort of see it. And a lot of people start podcasts and they don't get past that sort of 10 episodes. And,
so many podcasts like that, isn't there? I don't know if you love in the stats guy, but I think if you're past episode 3, you're in the top 10%, and then past episode 20, you're in the top 1% in the world already, just because people stop. Nothing else.
Well, something I heard the other day is like 2.6 million podcasts, which isn't a lot when you compare how many blogs and YouTube channels there are. But out of that 2.6, something like 385,000
that's it,
have published in the last 3 months or something.
Yeah. I don't know what the word is really. You can't hide from this. Like if you just do it consistently, to a reasonable standard, I can't see why it wouldn't go quite far.
Well, we spoke to a guy. Have you heard the Amateur Traveller podcast?
Oh yeah, I saw that one of your episodes. Yeah, I think I might have downloaded it. I think
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's been podcasting since 2005.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Like that's impressive. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we listened to one of our favourites was called When in Spain, and Paul just got a full-time job and had other life stuff, and he hasn't put out an episode for a few months now, and I think it'd be harder to get back into it than to stop.
That's my fear. Yeah, if I stopped, it'd be hard to get back into it. Right, you get a sort of routine.
And you put
of it.
so much into it. The stuff that you do on your social media, and like your notes that you sent through, like it's brilliant. I
was really impressed. The only one I listened to was Jake, and that was only a couple of days ago because Leanne said, "Have a listen to this guy." And I got to tell you, I was suitably impressed.
Yeah, he said, what a nice bloke he is.
Yeah, I was.
Not Jake, you, James.
No, Jake's lovely as well,
yeah.
Very easy to listen to. It was very interesting. Yeah, it was really good. So,
thanks.
And I think the benefit that we have, and I said to Leanne the other day, we're in a very unique position that we have spent probably 6 months in one country.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's crazy.
So how many people have actually got that as a benefit? So for us,
that is unique.
To do it it's actually easier.
Yeah, because how many travel podcasts, and mine probably be included in this, like how many travel podcasts can you see that are just in one country for a real period of time? It's actually quite rare. I can't think of one. That's
why we sort of decided to stay with Spain. I've got a pretty good following from the US. Obviously they travel to Spain a lot more, and we've got, obviously our family and friends in Australia, and quite a few from Spain, but
that are quite sick of it now.
Yeah. Oh, Mum's talking about the bloody podcast again. Here we go.
It happens.
No, they're very supportive. They love it. I think it's pretty cool.
Have to be supportive. Yeah. I think I get quite a few. I think US is probably second actually behind UK for me. I think that's what I said in my podcast every week. Consistent US, because I think there's an intrigue to Americans where they don't travel that much as a whole. So I think they're quite interested to maybe hear about countries through a podcast platform, right? That's what I get from it.
Well, and also I think podcast listeners are growing in number as well.
Yeah.
I had someone say to me the other day, what's a podcast? I'm like, what do you mean what's a podcast, right? Like,
I reckon you'd be surprised how many people haven't.
Or they don't listen. But I think that'll change. I think, I think that's going to grow as well. So
you're going to, you've got blokes like Joe Rogan and, Jordan Peterson. I know they're different than what we are trying to achieve, but like they're world renowned.
Yeah.
Right? They'll be talking about Jimmy Hamo and Leanne and Lyle.
Let's hope. Bloody hell. That's a dream. Yeah. Okay. And for your podcast, where can people find it in terms of platform, website and social media?
Okay. Well, we have a website, obviously www.beachtravelwine.com, and you can stream from there. We are on as many channels as I could manage to get us on.
All the classics.
And just search for Beach Travel Wine. And we're same handle on Facebook and Instagram is Beach Travel Wine. So we're pretty easy to find.
Cool. I'll put the links in the show notes so people can just click them and access them. Yeah. Nice one. Yeah. Okay, so for this episode, I've got two features. They're both kind of quick fire questions to finish with. Hey, just a quick one before we carry on with the travel questions. I just want to say there are many ways to support this podcast. You can buy me a coffee and help support the podcast with $5. Or you can go to my merch store with the affiliate link with TeePublic, where there's plenty of merch available to buy, such as t-shirts, jumpers, hoodies, and also some children's clothing. Thirdly, which is free, you can also rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, or Good Pods. Also, you can find me on social media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Simply just search for Winging It Travel Podcast, and you'll find me displaying all my social media content for travelling, podcast, and other stuff. Thank you. It's travel question time. So your favourite things travelling, these like coffees, cities, countries. So I'm going to ask, first of all, your top 3 favourite countries that you travelled to.
Spain.
New Zealand. Probably Japan.
Yep, same 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And 3 countries that you've not travelled to that's next that you'd love to travel to.
I'd like to do a bit more in South America, but I know Lyle we want to do the south of France. We have been to France. Does that count?
Yeah.
South of France, probably Croatia.
See.
Yeah. And I really want to go to Albania.
Okay.
Actually, Argentina. I think I'd like to do a South American Spanish-speaking country. Yeah.
I would love to go to Italy.
Yeah.
I've been there once, but I'd love to go with Leanne. And for me, France, the Loire Valley, again, wine area.
Wine.
Yeah.
One country I would recommend you don't go to, though. I reckon the most overrated country we've ever been to. You know what it is?
I'm too scared to ask.
The Maldives.
Oh, yeah. You didn't like it?
So overrated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Shocked.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
It takes us nearly as long to get to the Maldives as it does Europe. And once you get to the capital, you've still got to get to your island, which is on a boat, generally in the dark. It's a Muslim country, so drinking's very limited. So it's choice of alcohol, food's very limited, and you're stuck on one sort of resort because, there's no shopping or... For us living in Australia anyway, we can go to islands and beaches here, which there's a whole lot more to do, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I would get that. If I was in Australia, I'd just go somewhere like Fiji or something, just down the road. If you have to go to an island, yeah.
Well, I've got friends in Bali at the moment, and I've never wanted to go, but they are loving it,
Talk about most overrated place, Bali. There you go.
Okay. Well, that's what I reckon too, but anyway, it's not on my list at this stage. But, why wouldn't you just go to Whitsundays, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Great Barrier Reef.
Dream. If you could live in one country for a year that you've not lived in before, where would you live?
Well, we've only really lived in Australia. We have considered living in Spain, but Spain or Portugal, to be honest. Portugal's another beautiful spot. You?
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay, and I might have asked this kind of already, but a city where you've sat and drank a coffee or a glass of wine, could be up to you, to watch the world go by, where would you sit?
For me, Paris.
Ooh,
yes, that's my answer,
Yeah. You can't go past Paris, really, for that. Well, okay, I'll go to somewhere different. I would say sitting in a ski resort in Japan.
Nice.
It's a pretty nice thing to do.
It is, and you did it.
I did.
And what about a favourite beach? Being Australian is quite interesting that you've been to.
My favourite beach is Noosa in
Noosa, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's just up the road from us.
Yeah.
I mean, anywhere on the Mediterranean is nice just because it's Mediterranean, but you'd know what it's like. People don't know what beaches are until you've really been to Australia, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, I agree with Lam, but I'm going to go to Santander.
El Sardinaro Beach.
I've never seen a beach as big, I think. And we had lunch at a Michelin star restaurant, which was basically right on the beach. It was a beautiful day, and the backdrop, the architecture of the backdrop is phenomenal. They've got the white casino, old style casino,
like plantation style, really.
Yeah, just like really, really good.
Promenade along the beach.
Lunch was fantastic. We just really had a good day. It was about 2 to 3 days, or 2 days before coming home, and it was
nice.
great.
Yeah, great recommendation. Okay, great. What about a favourite walk or trek that you've done?
Oh, I'm going back to Noosa. Damn you! There's a headland walk through Noosa National Park, which I think's probably the most beautiful in the world. However, if I had to pick another one, I'd probably go the walk along the beach at Neha. What about you?
I'm going to surprise you. I'm going to go with the walk along the river at Salamanca.
Oh, Salamanca, yeah, along the river. It's a beautiful walk along there.
And I was going for a walk along there, and I happened to sort of look across to the left, and here's some young teenagers, and they had a wheelbarrow with a bull's head.
Actual bull's head.
Bull's head.
Right.
And they were practicing bullfighting.
Interesting.
And
okay.
Yeah.
The guy we told you about before that we took that nighttime tour, he said that that's actually where the bullfighting school is.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's beautiful along the Tormes River there.
Yeah, just glorious. And we were there for 7 days, and I did it every day.
Awesome. I've got a few more. What about top 3 favourite cities that you've seen on your travels?
Paris.
Yeah. You can't help it not like Paris, right?
Sydney.
Oh, Sydney's beautiful. Paris. I'm going Madrid. I love Madrid. Lisbon in Portugal.
Yeah, I love Lisbon. Yes.
Yeah, Lisbon in Portugal. You'd have to say Sydney for Australian capital city, but Brisbane, is probably my favourite capital city in Australia, so I'd have to pop that in there.
And I'd go San Sebastian.
It's a nice place.
In Spain.
Okay, cool. And what about a favourite landmark? This can be nature or man-made.
If I'm not going to pick a beach, I'd probably go with the Basilica of Covadonga, which is which is sort of in Asturias in Spain. It just stands in my mind. It's this beautiful basilica, which is almost pink coloured from, and then behind that is like the mountain range, which is bottle green, and it's on the edge of an escarpment, and it's just magical. Yeah. Not bad. What about you?
I'm going to go Sydney Harbour.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's one of the best, isn't it? You can't deny it.
Sure. Yeah.
Along those northern beaches, and look, it's just glorious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, what about a favourite cuisine that you've been on your travels that you've experienced? You can go really niche here if you like a region of Spain or whatever, but maybe a favourite cuisine that you could eat again.
Well, Japanese.
Oh, okay.
You can't go past the Japanese food. We actually found a couple of Japanese restaurants in Spain. So Japanese and Thai are my sort of favourites.
Yeah.
If it's a cuisine, because Spanish there's so many, right?
Yeah.
Japanese, I think.
I'd say seafood.
Yeah.
You can't go past Tasmanian oysters, Queensland prawns,
Moreton Bay bugs. Lobsters or crayfish in Tasmania too.
Yeah. Lobster, crayfish, and off King Island in Tassie.
Wow. Okay. And penultimate question would be, what's been the country for the best value for money that you've experienced?
Spain, without a doubt.
For sure.
Well, that might be the answer.
Yeah. It's a bit repeat, isn't it? The same answer, but it's true.
Well, if it's true, it's true, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The last question is, what words of advice or wisdom could you give to someone who is maybe considering to go travelling but are maybe a bit scared or hit and miss whether to leave and go?
Yeah, we've got some friends like that. So you don't want to travel if you don't feel safe, right? Or if you're worried about it. So, mean, traveling probably isn't for everybody, and maybe you travel within your own country, like there's so much to see locally as well. But if you're going to venture overseas, then stick with maybe an English-speaking country to start, and maybe get a travel agent to help you with the booking, because sometimes that could be the problem as well. That's what I would say. Like, not everybody has to be world travelers, and that's okay. Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
I think if they were concerned about their safety, again, I would highly recommend Spain. There is as I said, we've been there a lot, and at no point have we ever been anxious. They're nice people. They're not aggressive. You don't see drunks.
There's probably more danger in walking around the city at night anywhere in Australia, right?
Well, yeah.
So you don't have to go overseas,
I think it comes down to people's personalities, and I think some people are averse to risk, other people are not averse to risk. And
we've had people say to us, I would never go to Spain, and then when we've come back, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to go to Spain. Like you've convinced me, right?
Yeah, that's the aim, right?
Right, but even you were saying, you haven't heard of half these places, and that's the thing. We all know about the leaning bloody Tower of Pizza in Italy, which is,
Pizza.
not even that fascinating, right?
Yeah.
They're a bit harsh.
But you know what I mean? Like, we all know
they have got, the Vatican.
No, but I'm saying we all know that, right? Like, if you ask any Australian, they would know where it was if you asked them where it was. But if you say to them, where is Alhambra? Where's the biggest,
what is Alhambra?
Right? We don't know, and these things are so much more impressive. There's so much to see that we don't know.
And I think, to give Leanne credit, she does a fabulous job with the photos. I mean,
I do like
fabulous.
taking photos. Yeah,
and she just uses her phone.
Yeah,
and
it's got to be easy to do, James. Otherwise, you don't do it, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But so if you convince someone to travel anywhere, or ask you for advice, then that's great, because you want to help for sure. So
Leanne and Lyle, thanks for coming onto the podcast and making time for me. It's been a great chat. I've learnt a lot, especially about Spain. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And thanks for treating the listeners to a lot of jokes, puns and tips for travel.
Well, you're welcome, and thanks. We've had a great time too, haven't we?
Thank you, James. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you. Thank you for listening to my Winging It Travel podcast episode today. You can find me on Instagram at James Hammond Travel or Winging It Travel Podcast. You can search for both. I release weekly clips of this podcast episode, as well as photos from the last 8 to 10 years of my travels. You can also follow me on TikTok, Facebook and Pinterest by searching Winging It Travel Podcast. I do release daily content to do with travel and the podcast throughout the week. Also check out my website, jameshammond.org. There's content about myself, my travels, and there's also a newsletter sign up as well as a contact form. Finally, please rate and review the podcast on Podchaser. This is my platform of choice. Alternatively, you can rate this on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts from. This really helps the podcast gain a bit of traction for the future in terms of guests and content. And I'm glad to see that you guys are listening out there, reviewing it and enjoying the content so far. Stay safe, stay humble, keep listening, keep travelling, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers, James.